The British Prime Minister says military planning of securing the peace deal for Ukraine enters its operational phase. Efforts to secure just and lasting peace bring together partners from across the European Union, but not only Canada, Australia and New Zealand, with backing from others, including Japan. To discuss the potential might of this coalition, we're joined now by Adjunct Professor of International and Public Affairs, Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs, Tanya Domi. Good evening.
Good evening.
So the coalition may be willing, but whether it is really operational and capable remains to be seen. According to some experts, Donald Trump's position has not changed so far, and unless it changes, the coalition should struggle to get off the ground. So how much interrelated actually remains the coalition of the willing with Donald Trump's position of the so-called backstop here in Europe?
With regard to Europe in general, I do believe that this past week, Mr. Trump has called out the EU for being an enemy of the United States, and including an initiative to apply tariffs to European wines and liqueurs, as an example. So he's really coming at the EU in a really belligerent manner, as far as I'm concerned, but that's pretty consistent with his history. He had a very difficult relationship with Angela Merkel during his first administration. I'm not surprised by this, and I expect him to double down.
So we hear that overall we are successfully gathering political and military momentum, said Keir Starmer today, but he also added that new commitments were underway without saying what commitments exactly. So what instruments are in possession right now, are at the coalition's disposal? What instrument of
you're talking about yes, you're talking about the coalition with respect to Ukraine? Exactly, or just in coalition with Europe in general?
No. I'm talking about the coalition of the willing, that is, the countries that are willing to put pressure on Russia in securing the peace deal with Ukraine.
Right. Well, it does not, as far as I'm concerned, and in most of the public discussions, Mr. Trump has aligned himself more with Russia than with the EU. Now, there was a meeting with the Prime Minister of UK, and also his own Secretary of Defense has met with the Secretary General, Mark Rutte, and apparently in private conversations and publicly, the Secretary of Defense has definitely offered his support to NATO. And when Rutte met with President Trump, he reiterated, according to Rutte, Trump reiterated his support for Article 5, in defense of Article 5 within NATO. But in the previous week, 2 weeks ago, what has happened is that the U.S. has given more support to Russia and has withdrawn, including electronic surveillance, and has lifted sanctions on Russia. So I do not see a positioning of the United States right now is it seems to weigh more in Russia's favor than with regard to Ukraine itself and what's happening in Ukraine. And the White House has not issued any new statements about what, in fact, has changed about the U.S. position on Ukraine. So there hasn't been any new statements to that effect.
So let us change the subject now to Serbia, where the largest protests in decades took place today. Alexander Vučić, a populist who has been in power for 12 years as prime minister or president, is being challenged by a rally of youngsters, but not only, all different kinds of people who oppose him and challenge him. So the demands haven't changed. So we still hear the demands of a release of documents and also accountability for those responsible for the tragedy in Novi Sad. So what are the options, according to you, for the Serb protest right now?
Well, I think that the options are I mean, first of all, let me just say it's an unbelievable situation that nobody could have predicted. I, in fact, have been working on the Balkans for 30 years, and there is no precedent for this. This echoes the times that the Milosevic was the leader of the country, and the young people, including high school students who started these demonstrations, has continued to build, and it is throughout the entire country. Nobody is stopping, and the president, Vučić, has not been able to quell these demonstrations. It has absolutely flummoxed him. The options for the demonstrators is they're demanding accountability. And the issue is about the endemic corruption that resulted in the deaths of 15 people in November that were killed in the train station in Novi Sad when a canopy fell on the train. And that has not relented. I mean, not only has it not relented, it has gotten bigger. And so what has happened with Mr. Vučić is he offered up his prime minister, who resigned in late January, and the mayor of Novi Sad also resigned. So political blood has been, so to speak, shed by the president and his party, the Progressive Party, and the people are rising with these young people. And in my conversations with people in Belgrade, they are enthralled, they are thrilled, and according to accounts I'm hearing, is that the EU has more or less behind the scenes warned Mr. Vučić, if you turn on guns against the people, you are done. But a lot of people believe on the street, and that are analysts on Serbia, they believe that President Vučić has run his game, and this game is not going to deliver a win for him. He is essentially, in the view of many people, he is politically finished, especially if he turns to violence.
Tanya, Domi, thank you so much for being with us, madam. So that concludes this edition of World News Tonight. Thank you so much for watching, but please stay tuned to TVP World for more news and continuous update.